Hey, Joe, thank you so much. I'm super excited to hear your founder story. We're going to talk about some founder stuff. You ready?
Yeah, no, I'm ready. Thanks for having me.
Why don't we start from the top, man? You are one of the very rare founders whose story starts with a lot of seafood and fish.
Yeah, well, no, I thought a lot of people have fish stories from their early founder days. No, no, I'm just kidding. Um,
Maybe just you
maybe,
and your friends.
yeah, maybe just me and my friends up in Canada. But yeah, no, I guess founder story. Well, growing up, I'd been always very, very entrepreneurial. So I wouldn't say I like grew up wanting to be a founder or wanting that title. I just, like many of you, done a lot of founder like things. So I think,
Give me some
you know,
examples. Like what?
yeah, to give you an example, I think the first ever kind of pseudo, quote unquote, air quote, venture that I started was back when I was 14 or 15. I used to buy and sell and like arbitrage electronics. So what I mean by that is I would buy electronics like in bulk. So I'd buy like 5, 10, 15 phones at a time from these like discount or liquidation electronic stores.
How old are you?
Um, I was like 15 or
Oh,
14 or
damn.
15. Yeah. Like all the money that I would have saved up. So I would buy these like HTC phones, Motorola phones, tablets, and essentially I would resell them like literally on the street. So I would like go and meet up with
At
people
school.
from
Like,
Craigslist. I would meet up with
oh.
adults from Craigslist and like I would like coordinate meeting up with them at the
And you
shopping
didn't get
mall.
kidnapped.
That just seems
You're
safe.
still alive.
I no, I did a lot of sketchy things, and it's funny. I even had my girlfriend at the time, my high school sweetheart at the time, come with me into like people's homes to like buy and sell electronics. That
Your
crazy, crazy
15-year-old
story.
girlfriend was your muscle,
She
was your
could
She
bodyguard.
was my muscle. Yeah. God bless her. It's a nice thing to do. But yeah, so did that. Yeah, I probably had like 5, 6 other ventures and kind of excursions beyond that. I did like a web agency back when, knowledge of HTML and CSS was a bit of a moat. I had an organic candle company. So we imported organic soy candles from China and we made them in our parents' kitchens, and we would go around farmers markets buying and selling candles. Had a clothing company that I kickstarted off as well in university. So yeah, any and every industry. And I guess my first real business or venture funded company was, as you know, one that I started back when I think I was 20 or 21. And the idea at the time was my friend from high school and my co-founder for that venture, we were talking about business ideas and startups and founders and entrepreneurship. We were big fans of Dragons then. And he was just talking about his experiences kind of living and spending summers in the East Coast. So he's from northern New Brunswick, which is, I think, you guys wouldn't know where it is. Y'all are from the US. But imagine like Boston, but like remote, right? And yeah, he was talking about how he was talking to like lobster fishermen right on the docks, right? And lobster fishermen were going,
This is such a Canadian story.
it's very Canadian, dock to dock to dock in each small village, like selling, 10 pounds of lobsters here, 20 pounds here, 50 pounds here before going into like the main city or dock to sell to the main broker. So, we started asking ourselves like, why are they going through all this trouble to like buy a little bit of lobsters here and there before selling to the middlemen? And through that kind of discovery process, we learned that the seafood industry, not just in Canada but globally, was super antiquated. A lot of middlemen, a lot of moving parts, and it just hadn't changed in like decades, if not centuries, right? And fishermen were essentially getting pennies on the dollar as a result of that. So the thesis that we had was, hey, how do we democratize access to like these small scale boats and small scale fishermen and help them sell direct to the restaurants and direct to the people that want fresher, more traceable, more sustainable ingredients, and actually put more money back into the pockets of fishermen. And yeah, the company evolved from there.
And you were in university at the time.
I was very naive, thinking that me as a 20-year-old could reinvent a 1,000-year-old industry.
So did you drop out to do this full time?
Yeah, so it wasn't like one moment, but I would say it was like a culmination of many different things that led us to drop out. But yes, it was us like getting into like a Canadian accelerator, and then us getting into Techstars, us hiring a few people, and then raising venture capital, and like one thing led to the next, and yeah, we blinked and we're like, oh my goodness, like we
And
have.
what was your parents' reaction?
Surprisingly, my parents are not like the East Asian tiger moms. Like they're very supportive. They wanted me to just go out and do my own thing and kind of navigate my own path. So I don't think I had ever faced any resistance. I'm also the second child, so I think my brother got most of the lashing, and he went down like the traditional like science medical path. So I think I had a little bit more leeway there.
Got it, got it. So this business, was it a tech startup? Were you buying and selling fish as a broker? Like, help me understand what you were really building and
Yeah.
doing.
So essentially, it was supposed to be a predictive marketplace connecting fishers, seafood farms directly, restaurants. So instead of, people catching all they could catch and like selling it to the broker, and the broker selling it to the packer selling it to the processor selling it to the distributor, essentially we wanted to aggregate demand. So essentially it was a predictive marketplace where we would aggregate demand from restaurants and people, so that the fishermen and folks running the farms or going out to fish knew what was actually like pre-bought before they actually went out, right? So by having that process set up in that demand-centered way, you could bypass multiple middlemen and essentially ship like more direct. So I would say it was more like Uber for seafood. But in reality, what it meant is, I hauled a lot of fish. I had a Ford F-150. I was like driving around town with like 10,000 pounds of fish in the back. I was going out to like, the boonies in Eastern Canada, and going to Asia and going across the West Coast, like talking to fishermen and living on docks and going out on boats with random people. It was quite the experience.
Looking back, is this crazy? Do you think it's crazy you've done this? Was it fun? Like, what were the big lessons from this time?
Yeah, I mean, there's like lessons, and I think there's a lot of things that I really appreciate. I think number um, one of the biggest lessons that I took away is, go into markets where there are like headwinds. Don't fight the market. Market always beats founder, no matter how well the founder is executing, right? So the second time around building my venture funded company was all about how do I get into emerging markets where I can kind of ride that momentum and ride the wave, and I don't have to do all the heavy lifting, and convince people that their problem is a problem worth solving. So essentially the whole like, painkiller versus vitamin discussion that people have in startup discourse.
Right.
I'm glad I like went into a really hard space and a hard problem, because I made a shit ton of mistakes. Like we burned millions of dollars. I had to learn how to pitch chefs. And that is probably one of the hardest things you could do, because these folks don't have phone numbers. These folks don't have emails. You're literally going into the restaurant door to door, pitching them
Right.
on your service and
Yeah.
telling them why they should use you. So it really like builds up, thick skin, and sets you up for whatever you do next. Because God knows, like everything you do after trying to sell to chefs is easier. Yeah.
Right. So you really built up resilience during that time then.
I think so, and I think we came in with a lot of naivety of like what it meant to like build a tech company. Like going back to your point about, hey, were you just like a distributor, like a broker, or were you building a tech company? I think part of that naivety and this like grandiose vision and being too visionary about things was us being incessant that we had to build a tech company. Like we were so prescribed to, that infographic you have of like, Uber doesn't have drivers, Airbnb doesn't have like rooms, and talking about how that's like the new economy. We bought into that. So we're like, we have to be a thin marketplace. There's no way we can buy the infrastructure. There's no way we can like own warehouses or own the inventory. We have to build this in like a thin marketplace manner. That's great. And that's possible if you are at scale and you have capital and you have all these checks and balances. But when you're first scaling up, there's a lot of things that go wrong. So in hindsight, the right decision is, hey, doesn't mean that just because we, have infrastructure or own inventory or have warehousing initially to have like better quality assurance or better understand the inner workings of seafood companies or warehouses. That doesn't mean that has to be forever. That's just like a stepping stone towards like the vision in the future. But I think we were very hell bent on, because of what we read online, we have to build things the way we read, Airbnbs
Right.
and Ubers of the world to be.
You were trying to fit your business into a box.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the only way we were like, hey, that's the only way we raise money. And that's the only way investors are going to get behind what we build. And especially when you like live in a more conservative, country like Canada where,
Hmm.
capital isn't as cheap. I think it's harder to make those types of decisions at a younger age.
So what ended up happening to this business?
Yeah, well, part of it is there were elements of the business that were working, elements that weren't working. Luckily, I was able to get rid of the Ford F-150, and we
Okay.
had some automations in place where we had like a network of 3PLs doing all the deliveries, all the chefs ordering off of like our app. Part of the supply elements being automated as well. We were able to scale that to around $4 million in revenue per year. So we were able to
It's
get to
incredible.
some level of scale. We were losing money, obviously, like any other startup back then. There's no notion of capital efficiency back then, right? It's just throw money at the problem. We were able to get to a decent figure, kind of gearing up for our Series A when COVID hit. So when COVID hit, essentially every restaurant, especially in Canada, they were a little bit more, I'd say, draconian during COVID, where everything shut down, and supply chains, food, seafood, high-end restaurants are probably like 3-4 of the most impacted industries, right, across
Right.
all industries.
Yeah.
So essentially, we went from like millions to near zero pretty much overnight, and we obviously had payroll, we had things to pay for, and at that point, we ended up pivoting, not once, not twice, but probably 3 or 4 times. First into like premium grocery delivery. So, hey, we are like your Instacart for the Hokkaido uni and the Kura and the Wagyu beef and all these different things that people typically have trouble sourcing because those are reserved for restaurants. Until eventually we became like a commerce and operations platform for the same distributors and wholesalers that we were competing with. Because these distributors and wholesalers in meat, seafood, produce, they knew about us through the grapevine. They knew that we were young, we were hungry, we understood technology. And when they also had to pivot and kind of reorient their business to like sell online and run more of their business digitally, they realized, hey, you can't just pull up Shopify, because the way you sell meat and produce, you don't sell it by the unit. You have variable units and you have catch weights, and you can have steaks be 2 pounds or 1.8 pounds or 4 pounds per unit. So there's perishability, there's like geographical boundaries, there's legalities of going state to state or provincial boundaries for like selling beef and steak and seafood. So they needed basically like a perishable specific platform for buying and selling and conducting business, and that's kind of the model we pivoted into, and the business is still going strong today. It's 10 years in business, I think. February was our incorporation date, 2016. So been 10 years. Yeah.
That's incredible. You should be proud. Why did you decide to leave?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think really tough tough scenario and circumstance. Like I think when you've built something for such a long period of time, you know, Michael, it's the business is you, you're the business. It's very hard
Yeah.
to
Your
detach your own
identity is
like
like
reality. Yeah, your identity,
intertwined.
right? And self-worth. So that was a really tough one. But for me, I think I had conviction in like my capabilities as a founder, like what I wanted to achieve in life and in business. And I, going back to that earlier point about like market factors and, you know, the type of industry in motion not being conducive to you like winning. I felt like I had like tapped out what I could do, and I'd also like tapped out in terms of the amount of learning that I was getting on a day to day. So yeah, ultimately I told my co-founder, you know, gave them like a year's worth of heads up. So I said, hey, like, how long do you need me to stick around? I'll stick around, and I'm gonna help you like build this business up and do whatever I can to grind. Let's just like push it. And then yeah, he gave me a date. They, you know, worked together on it. So it was a very amicable departure.
We just spent 15 minutes and we haven't even gotten the super demo. So that's incredible. I love how you start by saying, hey, I never really thought I'd be a founder. And then you founded like 13 companies before the current one. But help bridge that gap between this last business you left, probably took a break, and
Yeah.
to today.
Yeah. Well, I, like many other founders, whenever I have an idea or I have a problem that I live with, I write it down and I keep it in my back pocket, right? I have like a running list of all the different problems and things that I run into in the day to day. And the problem space and the idea behind Supademo was one of them, right? So when I was transitioning from that marketplace to a B2B startup, it no longer became a matter of, hey, how many chefs can we hit? How many restaurants could we walk into at 2, 3 p.m. when they're on their break? It was how many distributors can we get on like a demo, like a digital demo where I'm walking people through the features, the benefits, the value of our product. And we were selling in a very like esoteric traditional market where people didn't really get it, right? So I started experimenting with like visuals. Hey, I'm gonna record myself or record a quick walkthrough and send it to people to try to increase the conversions of people like willing to have conversations with me. Well, first of all, creating these videos was extremely arduous. I hate recording myself. You gotta create the script. You probably fuck up at least 3-4 times. You waste a lot of time. Something pops up on your screen, and when you're a startup, after you create, because it's like one continuous loop, your video is like out of date, like within like a day or two of you making the thing, and now you're like, oh damn, I gotta do it all over again. And by the time you send it, no one wants to watch a 5-minute video. It's super passive. It's not engaging. It doesn't get people into the experience. But what I noticed is when I did more of like an interactive and back and forth session where people got to take pauses or click around, or it was more of a guided experience, that's when these like distributors and wholesalers like got the light bulb moment. They're like, holy shit, I understand what you're trying to sell me. How do we get started? So I figured there has to be a better like medium or a better, more engaging way to get people into your product, understanding your product, across both, you know, the creation and the delivery and I guess the viewing side. Yeah, when I wandered the wilderness, as I say, for 8 months, not knowing what the hell I was doing, if I could even get a job, because I like for half of me was like, I'm unemployable, I'm screwed. I was probably exploring like 10, 15 different ideas with like 5 different co-founders. I had like run like a March Madness bracket with like different ideas and different co-founders. And ultimately Supademo just kind of bubbled to the top, and my co-founder for Supademo and I just kind of agreed, hey, this is a benchmark that we need to hit in order to go full time and feel comfortable doing this thing. And yeah, we like got past it very quickly, and one thing led to another. We raised money and started built a team, and again, it's been like a pretty crazy journey last 3 years.
That's incredible. Talk to me about the early days of Superdemo. Like, what were the first things you did? What were the biggest challenges you had?
I mean, there were a lot of challenges. I think the biggest thing for us was now that we had gone from like a sales led enterprise play to more of like a lightweight product led growth motion. It was all about how do we get the initial flywheel going, right? It's easier to build this type of business that is lightweight, viral, and product led, but it's a lot harder to build like defensible momentum and distribution. And for us, we were lucky in the sense that Supademo in itself is a viral product. You create demos not to keep it confined to your own team, but you share it out with prospects, with customers, with colleagues to demonstrate your product and workflow. So by the time people click through it and experience it, they're like, "Oh shit, this was really cool. How do I use it for my own use cases, my own product?" So there's a flywheel there, but there's a lot of noise, as you know, and even more noise now with like AI. There's like a new tool launching every single day, every single minute. So for us, the problem was more about how do we get that snowball rolling down the hill, and the product will do the heavy lifting after. And it was all about, hey, let's get to our first 100 customers in whatever fashion we can build up, and just exhaust as many channels as we can, and do the work so that it becomes almost impossible for people to say no to our product. And then moving on from there. But that was probably the biggest hurdle, like getting to our first 100 customers.
How'd you find those first 100 customers?
A lot of different ways. I'd say it was a microcosm of like 100 different things. I'd say the biggest thing was like cliche, right? Don't do things that don't scale, right? I think a lot of people say that, but they still make it so hard for people to buy, right? So I'll give you some like very like tacit examples. So one thing I did is like I posted on Reddit. I scoured every like Reddit community, startup community, and whenever I could like mention Supademo, I would, and I would even start my own threads saying, "Hey, drop your product URL, and I'll go in and actually sign up for your product, learn what your product does." This was pre-AI. Learn what your product does, and I will create like a showcase demo for you so that you can use it in sales and marketing efforts without you having to pay for anything. You don't have to pay for the tool. We have a free plan. I'm going to give you the demo. And I would respond to people's comments inline on Reddit, so other people landing on that community could go in and see, oh, what is this link? And they could click it and they could see their product demo. I would sign up for every single product update of dream customers that I could find, whether it be Airtable or Linear, and I would respond to every single product update. Usually product updates have like some text, wallet text, and a screenshot, right? And I would actually respond with a click-through demo using Supademo of that feature and say, hey, you should actually embed this directly in your product update. You don't even have to pay me. Here's a link. Just sign up for the free plan and click duplicate, and you already have your demo. And you do that enough times. You do that enough times, and enough people are going to be like, all right, this guy's leading with value. He's not asking for anything, but he's giving me value first. Let me just poke around and see what this is. So those are some of the tactical things that I would do. And obviously I would like share like building in public on X, building in public on Indie Hackers, launching on Product Hunt, just being a megaphone like anywhere and everywhere anyone would listen. And then again, after you get to your first 100, first 500, a lot of that heavy lifting is done by the product itself, right?
Yeah. Joe, you've been on the startup merry-go-round a few times now. For Superdemo, like what's been the biggest surprise this time? What's been the biggest lesson?
Well, one surprise, it's been very easy. Like things have like really clicked. Things have really clicked this time around.
That's
and I think I'm hopeful that it's because of the trials and tribulations that I lived through the first time around. But I think it just goes to show that like, I think if you are chasing after a really painful problem that big enough portion of like humankind faces, again, you're going to be able to grow with that market, and you're going to be able to like have natural pull from people looking for solutions to the problem that you're solving. But I think the second piece is you just end up being a lot more pragmatic about how you build companies and how you build teams. And we've been extremely methodical this time around about who we let into our house when it comes to like the team, because every person that is coming in sets the tone for like how quickly you move, the pace, the cultural aspects of company building as well. And like I'm pretty ecstatic to say everyone on the team is like world class at Supademo. And
Does that mean you just
I'd
have a
say
higher standard, or you're like approaching interviewing differently? Like, how are you, like, what is the practical application of that?
it's hard to say. I'd say it's more qualitative than quantitative, and it's almost like listening less to like the quantitative signals, because I think when you're like an early stage founder, you can put a lot of merit into the quantitative signals of like, oh, this person was a director at X, or this person went to Stanford. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Jordan. Or this person is Y, right? And I feel like you over index on some of those factors, even in cases where like your gut is actually telling you, hey, don't go in that direction. So you end up like trusting your gut more. And you do run a better, like more streamlined process as well on like how do you actually get the answers that you're looking for, and not just like ask generic like interview questions because the internet told you these were the right ones to ask. It's like, what are the ones that actually get us answers to the ones that that we need to know if they're a good fit, not for any company, but for our company specifically.
Right. Well, Joe, that was super interesting. For Super Demo, what could listeners do to help you today? What do you need?
I think helping amplify our story. So like read our story. I don't want to say like become a customer. If it adds value to your company and you have the need to, create product demos for onboarding, sales, enablement, marketing, like go give it a try. Obviously we have a free plan and a free trial, so it doesn't hurt poking around. But I would say, yeah, like engage with the content that we put out there. Read it if it's valuable to you, and like reach out if I can be helpful, not just through like the Super Demo lens, but as a founder, I'm always looking to connect with other people. And
So give Super Demo
yeah.
a demo, basically.
Hey, yeah, give Super Demo a try to demo your product. Yeah, it's very meta.
Beautiful. Joe, that was all the business stuff. Let's talk about the founder
Yeah,
stuff, okay? Being a
let's do it.
founder is crazy. As you know, it's a rocky, wild roller coaster. What do you do to stay sane?
Man, that is hard. I think you do have to draw boundaries. I
Okay.
think that is one. So I have a
What's that
pretty
mean?
like hard, yeah, like I have some like pretty hard rules of, hey, I need to work out for at least an hour every single day. I'm not gonna like miss out on social functions because there's a lot of work. Because there's always deadlines, there's always work, right? And I think it's growing more mature and wise in the sense of understanding like what needs to happen in terms of urgency, what needs to happen today versus what can wait till tomorrow, right? And learning how to delegate properly as well within the team, because you don't have to shoulder all the burden yourself. That's actually fundamentally bad for the company, right? Because if you're stressed and if you don't have balance, the company doesn't have balance and you're making irrational decisions. And that permeates again, yeah, to like your mental health. It permeates to finances. So I'm very much a proponent whenever we have those like New York City founder dinners. I'm like, oh, how much do you guys pay yourself, right? Just as a curiosity, right? And I think founders actually take a pretty inordinate amount of risk. So like I think we should all, if able, like we should pay ourselves like a good wage, right? So that finances are not a factor when you're making decisions. So financial well-being, physical well-being, those are two things that are like non-negotiables to me as a
That makes a
founder.
lot of sense. What would people be surprised to learn about you? I've already been surprised like 8 times during this
Oh,
conversation.
yeah. I'd say I'm surprisingly I'm a bit of like an introvert. So people
That
think
is
I'm
surprising.
extreme. People think I'm extremely extroverted, but I actually spend a lot of time, most of my time by myself, like doing my own thing. So I like go on solo bike rides. I like run by myself. I work out by myself. I don't work out with other people. I like go out and just like walk around and read by myself. I go to bathhouse by myself for like 4 or 5 hours. So I do a lot of things like by myself. Um, so yeah, a lot of people think I'm like with other people all the time or going out like to the club. I'm like, no, I'm not like that. Yeah.
That is super surprising because you handle yourself so well in like really like overwhelming social functions.
I think it's just like mannerisms you pick up as a founder, right? Because I think you learn to become a bit of a chameleon, right? And adapt to the environment so that you can, better the business or create opportunities for yourself. So it's probably more so that than me like loving people and, wanting
Sure.
to be around people at all times.
Yeah. Or you just need a recharge, is what it sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you have a new favorite product, startup, feature, restaurant, anything? What's your new favorite thing?
My new favorite thing. I mean, obviously, I love Claude Code. I use the hell out of that thing. Outside of work, hmm, let me think. Oh, I have a new restaurant that I really like.
Beautiful.
It's in Fort Greene, which is like basically where I moved to. I was in Manhattan for 2 years, and I just moved out in February. There's a restaurant called Walter. Um,
Okay.
Sweet spot right across the street from Fort Greene Park, and yeah, like the lighting, the mood. It's like super super vibey, very nice, like casual spot. And on the back side is actually like a Japanese restaurant. So you can only get to the Japanese restaurant by walking through the American restaurant, which is called Walters, and you like go through like the back door, and there's like a whole separate restaurant with its own bar and staff. So maybe for the next social we go there or
All right,
next
I
founder
like it.
dinner.
Jordan, we're gonna write this down.
Yeah,
Which of the two restaurants do you like more?
I actually haven't tried the Japanese place. I only go there when the bathroom is occupied at Walter, and I'm like, I know they got bathrooms
Okay,
back
all
there, so I'm
right.
just gonna go back
Yeah, yeah,
there.
yeah.
But beyond that, I haven't tried. It's on my list.
Got it. Got it. All right, awesome. And Joe, you were in Canada and you came all the way to New York. What brought
Yes,
you here and what keeps you here?
I like to make my life harder than it is. No, no.
That is why you're a
For me,
founder.
yeah, no, exactly, yeah. Um, for me, the biggest thing was being in a higher density area. So as you know, I think as a founder, I think you're almost doing yourself a disservice if you're putting yourself in a place where you can't get as lucky, right? So New York as a city and as a magnet, it's you're gonna have higher surface area for like meeting people, running into opportunities, running into customers, having higher ambition just through like osmosis, being around people that are like, why is it so hard to build $100 million company? Then you see them and you're like, they're no different than me. Why? Yeah. Why am I thinking it's like this like impossible hurdle, right? Whereas in Vancouver, people are just out like skiing and going to the beach and
Right?
you know like hanging out, right? They're very like happy with what they got, and which isn't the worst thing in the world. But I think just for me as a person, I think knowing that what I'm capable of, like I want to maximize like the potential that I have. And for me, it was a no-brainer to be in, either SF or New York. I just like the vibe of New York a lot more. SF is a bit too monoculture. Too, I think there's such a thing as like depending on what age you are, it's like too much of one thing can also be bad too. And I wanted a little bit more like diversity of like industries and people and opinions.
That makes total sense. No, we're glad you're
Yeah.
here, man. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, hopefully I'm here for the long term. Yeah, I mean, if they approve my green card, we'll see.
Okay, all right. I'll knock on some wood for you.
Yeah.
Joe, I'm
Yeah,
always
yeah, of
inspired
course.
when I talk to you.
Yeah. Thank you. Oh, hey, I'm inspired by you as well. You're the one doing multiple businesses. hey, I don't know how you
It's
do
just
it.
failing at different things is what it is. Joe, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. All right.
Yeah,
Take care. Bye.
cool. All right, guys. I'll
Yeah,
see you soon.
thanks.
Bye.
Bye.